Next, let's look at what is REST. The full form of REST is representation state transfer. But what actually is REST? You need to understand that REST is a design pattern, not a protocol. Well, what's the difference? If you know what is a design pattern, then you might know what I'm talking about. Well, if you don't know what is the difference between design pattern and a protocol, don't worry, I'm going to explain you that. So let me explain you what is a protocol. Take an example of a 3-pin plug, that only fits in a 3-pin switch. Well, that's a protocol that has been designed to work only one way. Means the way the adapter is built is only to fit inside into one of this specific specification. If you change the switch, that 3-pin plug won't work or won't fit. Means the protocol will not work. Well, design pattern is not like that. It is not a specific set of rules that has to be followed. Take an example of an house design. Well, house design is a guideline or a design pattern you can choose to follow. Well, design patterns are like guidelines or rules that you can choose to follow or not. You can follow some and still get the benefit of it. It's like you have a house plan, right? You can pick some of the design from the house plan and can still build the house. Well, REST is basically a design pattern, right? You can, like a house plan, right? You can choose to follow whatever the design that's available in the REST. And when your design follows the patterns that has been listed in the REST, then you call it as in REST. Let's understand further what is REST all about. Don't forget this one definition throughout the course, that REST is a design pattern and nothing. It's basically a concept that has been proposed by a professor. Well, REST is a design pattern to exchange message over the web. The professor named Roy Fielding written the thesis on what is the best way to exchange message between two systems over the web. Well, REST is just a design that Roy proposed in his papers, and it has 6 design patterns. Any communication over the web between two systems follows the 6 design pattern, then it is called as REST-based communication. I've given the link to this thesis. You can read it and understand how REST actually was first defined by Roy. The 6 design patterns, I'll give you simple and easy to remember definitions. The first one is a client-server design pattern, which actually says the communication should happen in a client-server environment. Second is stateless. The server should not store any state of the client like session or anything. So server doesn't know any state of a client. So every call the client makes to a server is a new and without any state that's been stored in the server. Third one is a cacheable. Client should hold the cache of the communication, and it's a layered system. Layered in the sense a client cannot ordinarily tell whether it's connected directly to the end server or to an intermediate along the way. So you might have a load balancer, you might have a distributed environment in the server. So client should just able to connect to any of the available servers that's in the architecture, and then it's layered in the system. So it need not to be directly connect to the end system. Code on demand. Basically, a server can pass over the executable code to the client like JavaScript to execute it. Uniform interface. This talks about how the message is packed and exchanged or identified from the server. Well, many REST services out there does not follow all the 6 design pattern that Roy has proposed. Well, some might follow some of the design pattern and still claim it to be REST. Remember, REST is a design pattern. You need not have to follow all the 6 rules, but you choose some of the very specific and important ones, and then you build your REST services around it. But there are some rules that you need to follow, or else it will not serve the purpose, right? So REST has some specific rules that I'll discuss in future lessons. But remember, REST is a design pattern proposed by Roy Fielding in one of his papers, and it basically have 6 design patterns. So let me give you a proper definition of REST. Right? REST stands for representation state transfer. It's a style of architecture based on set of 6 principles that we have seen that describes how network resources are defined and addressed. So let's say a client want to do some operation on the server's objects or resources, right? Then REST generally talks about how the messages is been sent over to server and how the communication should happen inside the web and what is the best way to do it. right? That's basically the architectural guideline that Roy has proposed, and that proposal is called as REST.